This is Titletown Sound.
If Joe Flacco is worth a fourth-round pick, Antonio Brown might be worth a negative fifth-round pick.
Again, I'm just a fat dude sitting on the couch, but I watch a lot of football.
I'm here to kick ass and make steaks, and I'm all out of steaks.
Year one, he was like, all right, guys, I don't know what Dom taught you, but you need to have 11 guys on the field.
A trained orangutan could have done a better job than Ron Zerks. I mean, not even well-trained.
Welcome, Packers fans, to episode 252 of the Titletown Sound podcast. This is the podcast for fans of the Green Bay Packers and fans of Christmas movies. Kevin, thank you for joining us. And now, my co-host, a man who not only believes that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, but believes that it is the definitive Christmas movie, James Corsmo. James.
Yeah, Die Hard, number one, it's fantastic. What a great movie that is. It is a Christmas movie. I will go toe-to-toe with anybody who believes otherwise. It's great.
And my other host, the man who just barely made it in time for the show, it's my brother. I'm not surprised, but a man who likes the classics when it comes to Christmas movies. I have no idea where I'm going with this, Kevin. So if you want to jump in, go ahead.
Yeah. So not Christmas movie related, but I recently learned that the song Feliz Navidad, the Christmas song, hit the top Billboard top 10 last week or this week or whatever. It's 50 years old, that song. So good job on that guy who wrote that song.
Wow, that song came out 2 weeks before Mason Crosby was drafted.
Also, there's only 4 radio stations left in the United States, so it was maybe not as difficult to go to the top 10 as it used to be for songs.
Well, there's
I
only
think
4.
they count streaming now. I think streaming is taken into account.
Is it really? That's kind of cool.
I think it is.
That's how we became the number 17 podcast. And where was it? Paraguay or something?
No,
we cannot get through to the Paraguayan market. Woof, they are.
Latvia? I forget what it was.
Is that Luxembourg? I believe we have 2.
Hungary.
Luxembourg, which is 60% of the country.
Not
James,
Constantinople. Well, I was doing good. Christmas spirit's all up in me. Everything's fantastic. And then today, I have 2 sons. I think I've mentioned this before. They both go to a parochial Catholic school, and I go to pick them up from school today, or one of them, and the principal meets me in the parking lot.
That's always good.
Right. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I've gotten used to it, and no, I'm just kidding. I have good kids. I have really good kids. They're not ever in trouble. So no, then she proceeds to tell me that my son learned a new word today. And it's not a nice one. And apparently it was getting used a little bit too often, which is probably at all in a parochial school.
Now, how old is this son?
He is 13.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say what the word is. Because that would get us kicked off of everywhere. In Luxembourg would never have us back.
No. Scotland, however, we would double our listeners.
In Scotland, I mean, in Jason Statham would probably want to marry my son. Anyway, so that was very.
But it's important. I know you don't want to say the word. We won't say the word, but
Chris, before you say anything, Chris, because this is important. James, your kids are the cutest little runts I've ever met, and I just want to make sure that you know that.
Well, thank you. They're cute runts. I had to take. They used to play baseball all the time, but they didn't. They could never learn how to bunt.
That's a yeah. Maybe they could take some lessons from J.K. Scott on how to punt,
or they could be in Canon camera with Alan Funt.
Or they, instead of going out the rear, they could go out the front.
Yes. Really, it all boils down to is that this was a really bad stunt that happened today. Anyway, I'm not gonna see him because I have to work for the rest of the week. I am gonna see him next Tuesday. I am looking forward to that. Anyway,
so he's just he was just walking like, was it used because like someone pushed him too far and he was like,
it was used.
You bleep, and then it was like, whoa.
It was used because one of his friends who's in the same grade heard it in a Twitch stream from somebody, didn't know what it meant. At least I pray to God he didn't. Brought it to school and thought it was a funny word. They thought it was just like a descriptive word that meant like bad or stupid or something. So they were using that word as if they were, anyways.
Like the Smurfs used Smurf.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I'm gonna go get me some Smurf and lunch, and then, so they would be, is that kind of how it was being used? Because now it takes it from like evil and mean to innocent, naive, and cute.
Look, I've never been simultaneously horrified and stifling laughter at the same time until today. I was embarrassed. I was mortified. But at the same time, I couldn't stop giggling, and that's just kind of sums up my life, really. But so we had, I mean, the principal had a nice talk with him, and didn't tell him what the word means, because that'd be really awkward if his principal of his Catholic school told him what that word means. But basically told him that's the grand poobah of all naughty words, and we don't say that.
Save that one.
And
at some point, but just save it for now.
Yeah. So I've been using it towards him all night.
All right, guys, I think we should probably talk about the Packers game because, like I've said, we're nominally a Packers podcast. The Green Bay Packers, this was a big game. The Packers beat the Lions. They moved to 10-3. They secure the NFC North at the end of Week 14. James, this was a heck of a week for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, they came out pretty good. It was nice to actually have them lead the Lions for, the majority of the game, as opposed to the not at all ever. And no, it was good. Everybody was clicking on all cylinders for the most part. Defense was a little bit defensive, Packers defense, but they did what they needed to do.
Let's talk about what is quickly becoming obvious, that Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams are just a dominant duo. I didn't want to say dominant duo because when Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams are a dominant duo, it seems like it was put on, but it wasn't meant to be. I got there. Anyway, they are, right?
They are, yeah. I mean, they're obviously the best quarterback wide receiver combination in the league. I mean, and I don't think it's particularly close, to be honest, but I mean, Davante Adams has just been out. He's missed 2 games, and he leads the league in everything. It's incredible.
Yeah, Kevin, against the Lions, Davante Adams had a hell of a night, and yet it wasn't one of his better nights. 7 receptions on 10 targets for 115 yards and a touchdown. That has become kind of a pedestrian evening for Davante Adams.
Oh, it's funny to think that earlier in the season, he had 2 consecutive games with no touchdowns. So he's got 14 touchdowns in 11 games, including 2 games with 0 touchdowns. He's been pretty productive, I would say. That's pretty good.
That's a hell of a stat. I didn't realize that. That's amazing.
I'm basically the Rain Man when it comes to stats. So,
but you are?
No, I mean like the weather guy in Tulsa.
Yes, you're Stormy McBride.
Stormy McBride.
But we've had this discussion on the show before, and we've had this discussion about other Packers wide receivers. You wonder, is this Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers, is this the most talented Packers quarterback wide receiver combination? And on a lot of teams, you can ask that question, and you don't have to put much thought into it. With the Green Bay Packers, you have to put a lot of thought into it.
I mean, you got to go all the way back to, the 40s and 50s, which is you can't say that for a lot of franchises. It's pretty incredible. I mean, shoot, you can make an argument that Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams isn't even like the best that Aaron Rodgers has ever had. Like, I mean, he is, but you could argue, but Greg Jennings
would argue.
Yeah, well, Greg Jennings is a dope. Greg Jennings or Jordy Nelson or Randall. I mean, it's a laundry list. It's incredible. We've been blessed.
Hashtag.
And the big question, I guess, at the beginning of this season was, could the Packers function without more help at wide receiver? And when they didn't make wide receiver a priority in the draft, or at least they weren't able to capitalize on a wide receiver pick in the draft, because they say they made wide receiver somewhat of a priority. But when they didn't, a lot of fans wrote this team off, and I know fans will be fans. But the Packers knew something about the talent that we didn't, and I didn't believe. But like you look at MVS this week, 6 receptions on 6 targets for 85 yards and a touchdown. If you get that into your number 2 every week, I mean, and then you got Tunyon, 5 receptions on 5 targets with a touchdown. These guys are doing what we didn't think they could do as a receiving corps.
And Chris, not only that, but the running backs too. I mean, it feels like they were featured a little bit more earlier in the year with the passing game, but I mean, they're good pass catchers. So, I think all around they don't have, with the exception of Devontae Adams, they don't have greatness. I mean, Aaron Jones is pretty great, but like they rounded the whole offensive unit rounds itself out nicely.
Yeah, but then when you start to think about it, and you think about the talent that Devontae Adams clearly has, and he seems to be getting better every year. It's a guy that you feel like he hasn't even reached his full potential. But when you think about that, your 3 most important skill positions on an offense, right? Your quarterback, running back, wide receiver. There's not a team in the league that has it better than the Green Bay.
And if you wanted to argue tackle position as one of those top 3 positions, you could even throw it's still. Yeah.
It's almost an embarrassment of riches. I mean, they have a top 3 offensive line. They have, probably the best quarterback. They have the best wide receiver and a top 5 running back. I mean, and then the lower tier guys, the other wide receivers aren't too shabby either. And then Jamal Williams is good too.
And they have a punter.
Do they? Yeah, they do. They do.
So the Packers looking against the Lions, the offense looked as you'd expect the offense to look against the Lions. The defense, it wasn't a bad game. It wasn't a great game. I'm going to read James' note in the show outline. Defense has big sacks, but soft middle.
Just like me. No, they no, reverse that. Anyway, so they came up big when they needed it. Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, they all came in and pressured Matt Stafford. At the most critical times, I think Darnell Savage had a sack as well. They played okay. After however many years of Coach Mike, I think, I'm coming to terms with this is just who they are, and this is how it's going to be. The middle of the field is always going to be wide open, and he's going to just, he's going to protect against the bombs and give you 20 yards in the middle and hope the clock runs out. That's basically what I'm guessing his game plan is.
Yeah, Kev, what did you think about the defensive performance against the Lions? I mean, it never felt like the game was really in danger.
Right.
But you still felt like a meh performance at times.
But I think that's, to James's point, that's kind of what this defense is, right? Like, I think that every once in a while you're going to have a really strong performance, a dominating performance where they're going to get 2 or 3 turnovers, maybe, score a random touchdown or something. But you're not going to get that all the time. And most of the time the defense is in the game. And when the defense is keeping the team in the game, they have a really good chance of winning because the offense is so good. You've seen in some of the losses where it's been a breakdown of I feel like when the Packers lose, it's because they lose. Like they don't get shortchanged when they lose. They really go all out.
It's true.
So, I don't really remember what I was saying, but I'm going to end my conversation with that.
It's time to get Kevin back to the home.
Perfect. Kevin, I thought you whatever. The defense, and if this defense can be mediocre and get pressure and the occasional turnover, that will be enough. With the way this offense is playing, that should be enough. And we've said this before, so I hate to say it, but I think in the past, at least for the past 4 or 5 years, we've overestimated how good this offense really was. It was really Aaron Rodgers who was good. But this year, it feels like the offense all around is much better. By the way, Aaron Rodgers is still amazing. And I think with a mediocre defense, you can go pretty damn far.
And James, one thing about a mediocre defense is, we watch the Packers a lot and we say that's a mediocre defense because we think it should be better. But comparing it to other teams in the league, I think it's a little bit better than mediocre. I don't think it's great, but I think it's better than mediocre.
I think it's just that it's frustrating because we see things that feel like they're easy fixes. And I know that's not the case, or they probably would be fixed. Right? There's a reason we're sitting on the couch and we're not employed by an NFL team. But it's frustrating to see that happen week after week. But you have to remember, these are NFL offenses in a game, James, that is set to benefit offenses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think with the Packers, with Mike Pettin, it's okay. We're gonna sell out against the big the explosive plays. If we give up 9 yards a carry, that's fine because you're not going to score quickly on 9 yards a carry, 8 yards or 5 yards a carry. It's going to take time off the clock. We'll give the ball back to Aaron Rodgers. They're going to go down and score 3 touchdowns. We're only going to allow the other team to score 2. We win. And that's going to work 85-90% of the time until you find that, you find teams, that have a defense that can or bad luck, Aaron Rodgers throws a pick 6 against Tampa and now all of a sudden, oh crap, it goes down the tubes. And that's the only thing that concerns me. Really the only thing about this team that concerns me is I feel like they rely so much on hoping the other team, their defense can just get 2 or 3 stops and relying on Aaron Rodgers to just drag the offense because they're talented, but the offense can go down and just keep scoring, because all it takes is, a couple wonky drives and now you're losing 30 to, 15 or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And again, I think this offense is better than we've seen in past years. So it's more suited to this, but you need the defense the defense can't just every once in a while get a stop. They need to be reasonably decent. Again, we're raising that bar. They need to be reasonably decent.
I think
that's not it.
I think I've actually come around a lot to Kevin's way of thinking on the defense especially in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Like, I know I'm as shocked as you are.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, no, I mean, just you know what, they are what they are. But this
Kevin was on for 2 seasons before he realized this was a Packers podcast.
I mean, I was talking Pacers.
Victor Oladipo. No, I think I've come around to it. It is what it is, and they have a bunch of star players at different positions, and they're just going to kind of rely on those guys to take away the explosive plays and get a couple turnovers, and boom.
I want to see Mike Pettin with that mean-ass face on a poster with, like, standing in front of the defensive line. Packers defense, it is what it is. Like a movie poster, like a badass, but just like, or, and then they could have one of the review could be slightly better than mediocre. Kevin, amateur podcaster.
The Domino's pizza of defenses.
You minus the delicious garlic crust.
Speak for yourself.
Oh boy. All right. What else? The other thing that we have this broken up into 2 topics on the outline, but we have it combined as 1 topic. I'm going to break it up a little bit. And that question I want to ask now before we head toward the break. Is Aaron Rodgers the favorite now in your mind to win the MVP, or should he be? He may not be, he's probably not mathematically at this point, but should he be?
Yes. I look, I would be perfectly okay if Patrick Mahomes is MVP. I think he probably has earned it as well.
Okay.
You can make an argument for either guy. But if you want to look at, last week, Patrick Mahomes threw 3 interceptions, fumbled, and they still won 38 to -10. If Aaron Rodgers throws 3 interceptions and gives away a fumble, the Packers are losing 127-3. Rodgers is doing it with 1 all-pro wide receiver and a bunch of decent, guys, and then some running backs. Mahomes has Travis Kelce. I mean, Tunyon's good too, so I guess I can't take that away. But I mean, I just feel like given the weapons that Mahomes has versus what Rodgers has and the production that Rodgers provides versus what Mahomes provides, to me, Aaron Rodgers has been the most valuable player for real.
I mean, in my opinion, when you're looking at, Mahomes, they're the number one seed in the AFC. The Packers right now, the number one seed in the NFC. So the records, that's kind of moot. And then you look at the numbers, and like they're both having great years. But you're right, James. That week that Mahomes had last week is definitely going to put him back in a lot of people's minds, because when you look at the numbers overall, you see that, and it's a little bit jarring. But
so speaking of numbers, let's look at. Not that I have a gambling app on my phone or anything, but I opened up my gambling app on my phone, and Patrick Mahomes right now is minus 210 to win MVP. That means if you placed a $10 wager, you would win $4.76. All right, so it's a win probability of somewhere around 69-70%, I think.
Nice.
Meaning that's how much he's expecting. Now, Aaron Rodgers is plus 155, which means a $10 wager will get you $15.50. That, to me, now look, we have a mathematician in the room. Let's see what he says. In the chat, he says, I can confidently say that mathematically Rodgers deserves to be the MVP. I don't know what that means, but I'll allow it. I'm also going to assume that means that my $10 is well spent gambling on Aaron Rodgers, and I will place that bet.
This is a podcasting first.
No, it's not, because I failed the location check. It appears you're located outside of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and sports betting isn't available in your area.
But you're in Pennsylvania. Just tell it that. It'll be fine. Just let it know.
I'm trying to tell the computer exactly what it can do with a year's supply of chocolate.
Why don't you just tell me what movie you want to see?
What a letdown. I got to log
300.
Ruined my segment. I could have just lied and said the bet worked. I'm so stupid.
That's not, I'm not going to debate that.
So what do you think, Kev? Do you agree that Aaron Rodgers should be the MVP at this point?
I think at this point he should definitely, obviously, be in the top two conversations. Like James said, I wouldn't be mad if you took Patrick Mahomes. But based on what I have seen out of this team, Aaron Rodgers is just playing out of his gourd right now.
I also think it's funny because one of the reasons I agree with you that it should be Aaron Rodgers, but if it's Patrick Mahomes, I won't be mad. One of the reasons is because I like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Like if it was Aaron Rodgers or Jay Cutler, I would not want it also. I would be okay with it being Jay. I mean, the fact that he's retired, that would be wild.
That'd be weird.
You know what I'm getting at there.
I agree. I mean, yes, I'm not going to lie. I would probably be a little bit miffed because I do believe that Aaron Rodgers should win. But as of right now, but again, Patrick Mahomes if Aaron Rodgers is one, Patrick Mahomes is 1A. Yeah, he's a great. I love watching him play.
By the way, I didn't mention this, and I should have at the top of the show. We apologize. We're a little bit late getting to you this week, especially since the game is happening in like 18 hours from the time this podcast is released. But we had some personal issues, private issues, public issues. James accidentally killed a man with a trident. There was a lot going on this week, so we apologize.
And not like a trident with a sharp, like the gum trident.
Yeah, how did you
shoot him to death?
Look, I'm pretty deadly with a spit gun.
All right. Now before we go to break, I want to talk about something that Kevin and I did. Not that Kevin, no, the other thing. We were on a podcast last week because foolishly other people find us entertaining, and it is the Brownie Points Guide to Cinema, which can be found on Apple Podcasts and everywhere you find podcasts. And listener and new patron, this will also count, Nick, as your patron shout out. New patron, Nick Mahan, thank you very much for signing up. He is the co-host of the show, and Kevin and I talked about our favorite movie of all time, Strange Brew. So if you've ever wondered about why half of the jokes on the show don't make sense,
as I did for the last 4 years up until I watched Strange Brew last week.
We sent James a copy of Strange Brew over a year ago, so maybe 2 years ago.
I think it was like 2 months after I started on the show because we realized that a lot of our jokes were going strange, bro. We needed to get him in on the joke. Yeah.
So we're like, you got to watch this because you'll get it once you watch it. And he put it off, and finally this week watched it. And James, so what do you think about the show for the last 2.5 years?
It's beauty, eh?
So anyway, please listen to Nick's podcast, Brownie Points Guide to Cinema. And look, you guys, you can just listen to our part. Don't tell Nick I said that. If I talk like this to the mic, I don't think you can hear it. So just don't tell him, but listen to our part. That's beauty. Actually, you can just listen to our part because it was released by itself. So there you go.
It's intended for individual consumption.
Guys, Nick's in the chat. Ixnay on the only listen to our art pay.
Ari say Icknay.
That broke beer.
Nick said he didn't hear, so perfect. All right, guys. We have, by the way, before we go to break, if you want to join Nick and become a new patron, you can do that too by going to patreon.com/TTSO. And it's no secret, if you donate enough, you could be as awesome as our OG patrons. Kevin, who are they?
All right. Well, you guys, you didn't mention this at the beginning of the show because we were talking about Christmas songs and Christmas movies and stuff. But today is December 17th, the day that we're recording, is National Maple Syrup Day. And believe it or not, all of our OG patrons, they have a connection to maple syrup. So Jason Hicks and Beyonce both know that maple syrup is the key ingredient in a master cleanse. Lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and water along with maple sap really help get your body bikini ready. If you and
don't make me picture Jason Hicks in a bikini. God bless it.
Okay, you did that, not me. Question two. No, Scott Neer, OG patron Scott Neer. He has a red maple in his backyard that produces 40 gallons of sap every season. That's 40 gallons of sap is just enough to make 1 gallon of syrup. That's how that works.
That's true.
Jeff Augustine, like some people in communities in Southern Korea, Jeff drinks unprocessed maple sap straight from the tree. It's a centuries-old tradition Jeff follows, and he's been doing it now for years. He sits and he can drink gallons in a sitting.
Oh,
ancient Chinese tradition, huh?
Milo Meadsong. Most people think that Vermont is the maple syrup king of North America, but Quebec is actually the top producer. And Milo Meadsong's farm, it's called Le Sap, produces millions of gallons of sap a year. Chris Korsmo.
Oh, God.
Chris Korsmo is currently growing all 13 species of maple trees that grow in North America in our backyard and knows better than anyone that only a few of them can actually be tapped for sap.
That is actually probably pretty true.
And last but not least, James Hamblin has been categorized as a B-class maple syrup for his deep color and rich flavor.
I just look, I don't want to break the fourth wall or whatever you call it, but I want to point out how much research Kevin must have done on maple syrup, and yet how little research Kevin will do about the Green Bay Packers.
Well, when we get to the true or false, you'll be able to identify where I ran out of time.
There's a limited amount of research time, and you decided to dedicate it to maple syrup. By the way, that's what makes this show the way it is. So I do support that. All right. Thanks to all our OG patrons and to all our patrons. You guys are awesome. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will talk about gentlemen, we have a David Bakhtiari 69 of the week that we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about first because it's very special this week. We'll talk about the Panthers game. We've got our games to play, and we'll ask the question: Matt LaFleur for Coach of the Year or Aaron Rodgers for MVP? Which one is better or makes more? I don't know. We're just going to talk about it. There's no real question, guys. Stop looking at me like that.
I can't stop looking at you.
All right, we'll be back in 2 and 2. And Chuck Lloyd can kiss me. Did you know that you can help support our show financially without any additional cost to you? Well, if you use Amazon, and let's face it, who doesn't? You can go through our Amazon affiliate link, and we'll get a small portion of the proceeds. You pay nothing extra, and you still get your awesome stuff delivered in like 2 days. So go to www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon. You just order like you normally would, and you help the show. That's www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon. Happy shopping.
If you would like to support the show and help others find it, give us a review and a rating. Go to Apple Podcasts and write something nice and give us 5 stars. Thanks.
Welcome back. Episode 252 of the Green Bay Packers Fan Podcast, named greatest Green Bay Packers Fan Podcast in Albania 3 years running. It's the Title Town Sound Podcast. Don't fact check me on that. And we have some more patrons, our Hall of Famers that we want to talk about. And James, if I look at the outline, I believe that's your job.
It's slightly my job. So my patrons are Paul Goldsack. They're not my patrons. They're our patrons. They're all our Hall of Fame patrons. But I feel like they're surrogate father since I announce them every week. Paul Goldsack, Kyle Turpening, DJ Lightfoot, Will Zine Savage, and Michael James Crowder. Now, today is National Maple Syrup Day, but also it is day 2 of Kazakhstan's Independence Day.
How many days do we have?
2. So today is the second day of Kazakhstan's Independence Day, and so I have deployed that fleet of patrons to Kazakhstan to share our joy with them and fulfill their celebration.
So you sent our patrons to Kazakhstan.
They're gonna come back. That's the plan. I don't know if we're gonna, that reminds me, OG patrons, you're gonna need to pitch in a little bit more this week.
We'll be releasing 8 episodes this week.
If you don't pitch in more, we'll send you to Kazakhstan too. It was more of a punishment than a reward. The pledge drive hadn't gone as well as we liked, so we sent them to Kazakhstan. It is what it is. The Green Bay Packers defense. It is what it is. Gentlemen, now it's time for something very important, very special.
69, dudes!
Nice.
69!
Nice.
Kevin and James,
Yes.
what happens when we have a 69 that needs no artificial manipulation?
I know.
What's that, Kevin?
There's a lot of kgs of poop.
This is natural.
That's right. It's a natural, Kevin. It's another way of saying natural, as you know,
This is
because
the best natural laxative to clear all the stuck poop in the intestines. Nearly 3 kg in one day.
now, Kevin, if you have one natural 69, we know you can lose 3 kg of poop in one day. But
Yeah.
did you know that if you have 2 natural 69s, you can lose up to 6 kg of poop?
That's too many kg of poop. I'm going to put my foot down right now. I need
Man.
that kg of poop.
This is a natural 138.
So we have 2 natural 69s this week. First, Aaron Jones rushing total for this week was 69. That's a natural.
That's natural.
But
That's
there's
the most.
a problem.
That is the most like pure natural we've ever had.
So the problem, gentlemen, is there is another 69 there, but none of us wrote it down. And we can't
Oh, we
remember.
can't remember.
Hang on, vamp.
I think it involved MVS or something of that. Here, what? I'll play some sound effects while we're waiting.
Oh, where should we go? Looney Bin or Brewery? I'm taking you to the Looney Bin. Take off, take it. I'm going to the brewery. No way, go to the brewery. All right. And then I'm taking you to the doing
Psst, Google. Google faster.
Hang on a minute.
I'm trying to vamp, but I ran out of material already.
Aha.
Yeah, just so like I was saying, I think and then yeah, sure.
So the other 69, the other natural 69 for the second amount of 3 kgs of poop.
Right, for the second, third kg of poop.
The drive where MVS caught the back shoulder touchdown dart was 69 yards.
Oh, I thought maybe you were going to say his
Smoke
celebration.
all laxative to clear all the stuck poop in your intestines. You will lose 3 kg in one day.
Did we ever do the We did the conversion, right? That's a lot of poop.
I believe it's like 6 pounds.
No, it's
like 2. I think 3 kg is like 2 pounds of poop.
Meanwhile, listeners everywhere but the U.S. are like, "Oh my God, they're all stupid."
What does James Hamblin have to say? He's a math whiz.
James Hamblin, how many pounds? Because we could Google it, but how many pounds is 6 kg of poop if you have double natural 69s? That's all.
We could Google it, but I think it makes better podcasting when we ask our
viewers. That's important. All right, let's talk about. We're going to do this a little different this week. In talking about the Panthers game, we're going to try to combine our true-false game, right, Kev, with our discussion of the Panthers game. So in the past, when we've done true-false, we've raced through the answers. But really, we find those are some of the most important questions about the upcoming game and a good way to address them. So Kevin will ask a true-false question, and we will use that to guide our brilliant factual analysis of the upcoming Packers match.
Do we no longer have the theme song for it?
We have to discuss. Yeah, I was going to say that.
We haven't discussed that, but I think we need to at least play this theme song this week, and then we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, yeah.
True or false, true or false, true or false, true or false. It's time to play true or false.
Sort of.
All right, so Kevin, you'll just ask the questions, and then we'll just kind of have an open discussion about it.
All right, great. Okay, so question number 1. The Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey, he's listed as doubtful for this Saturday's game. It's no secret that the Packers need to stop the run in order to win when it counts. True or false? Against the Packers, the Panthers will rush for at least 65 yards. Another thing to keep in mind here is we're not doing so hot on true or false. So I'm trying to make them a little easier.
65 seems like a low bar.
Against this Packers defense, you would think it is, but they also don't have Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I'm still going to say true because you could probably get that on the first 2 drives, and that's the only time the Panthers may be rushing against the Packers. So go ahead, James.
If the Panthers do not get 65 rushing yards against the Packers, I'm going to go ahead and assume that all of their offense just decided not to leave the locker room.
So I mean, Teddy Bridgewater could get 60 yards against the Packers. I mean,
yeah,
theoretically speaking.
So what about this Panthers rushing attack without Christian McCaffrey? You know, how does it match up against the Packers? I know we all know the Packers' weakness is rushing defense. So, you know, what are we going to see on Sunday, James?
We're going to see the Panthers rush offenses. I mean, even without Christian McCaffrey for a lot of the year, it's pretty middle of the tier, middle of the league. I think it's ranked like 15th or 16th, something like that. So, I mean, you know, Teddy Bridgewater, he isn't as mobile as he used to be before his knee was injured, but he can still get around a little bit. And I mean, I'm not. This feels to me like one of those games where you feel like, oh no, McCaffrey, we should have this locked up, and then some backup running back will come in and rush for 412 yards.
This Panthers team feels like, I mean, they've had bad luck with injuries this year, and they still feel like they're a couple of pieces away from being a pretty damn good team for a team that just lost its only franchise quarterback, really, you know, by attrition, essentially.
Right.
they're a pretty good team and a pretty good rushing team, even without Christian McCaffrey. I mean, considering they lost, one of the best running backs in the league.
And looking at their stats while I was putting together the true or false stuff, and they're, they rush for 4.8 yards per carry, and they allow 4.7 yards per carry, and their passing yards per game is very close to what they let. They're in a lot of games. They're only 4-9, but they're in a lot of games, and I don't think that this one's going to be a blowout by any means. I think this is going to be a close game. I think a guy like Bridgewater, a mobile quarterback, historically has given the Packers trouble. I don't see any reason why that would change, but maybe I'm wrong.
All right, what's question number 2?
Question number 2. Aaron Rodgers continues to make his case for MVP with almost 3,700 yards passing, 39 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. Devontae Adams continues to make a strong case as the best wide receiver in the NFL with 91 receptions for 1,100 plus yards and 14 touchdowns in 11 games. True or false? Aaron Rodgers will target Devontae Adams at least 10 times against Carolina, and Adams will have at least 1 receiving touchdown.
I'm going to say true. So why don't we just give our answer and then we can discuss it? I'll say true.
I think I'll say true as well. I don't think that. Why stop now?
I think you have to go true with the current trend.
Aaron Rodgers is going to look for Devontae Adams. I mean, we saw that in that drive last week. Like he went to Devontae Adams 62 consecutive times on one drive.
He had 2 targets in one play, I think.
Yeah.
If that's possible.
In fact, no, go ahead, Chris.
You're going to get heavy doses of Devontae Adams throughout the rest of the year because it works and because it's not the same as it was in the past couple of years. It's not heavy doses of Devontae Adams with nothing else.
Yeah.
It's heavy doses of Devontae Adams that are effective because you've got other competent receivers and you've got a running game that's fantastic. And you've got an offensive line that is protecting the quarterback. So you can get away. It's not hiding the weaknesses anymore. It's exploiting the defense's weaknesses by going to Adams the way they are now.
And when they go to Adams 3 times in a row, it doesn't seem like that's because Rodgers can't go anywhere else. It's because they seem like they're so confident that they're going to connect that it doesn't matter, and he's going to throw it to him.
It feels sometimes like if he goes 4 or 5 plays without going to Adams, he just throws him a bubble screen just for that, just because.
You should.
Like
Why
literally. Not? Yeah.
All right, Kev, question number
3. Question number 3. This is where I ran out of time, guys. Aaron Jones had a nice total amount of rushing yards last week. True or false? Jones will have at least 69 yards again this week.
Yeah, I can see that. I'll say true.
I will also say true.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Now, what do you think Aaron Jones can do against this Panthers team? What James, can you tell me about their rush defense or what you'd expect to see on on Saturday, by the way. Don't miss
Saturday.
It. Fox back a day for Saturday.
Daylight savings day. No, so Carolina's defense is also about middle of the pack. It's a little bit worse than their offense. Obviously, they don't have Luke Kuechly anymore. He retired.
He snapped in half.
He did snap in half. He had his 47th concussion and said, "All right, I think I'm gonna go now." They don't really have any big names on defense anymore. Reggie White's gone. He did play 1 year for them, by the way. So I mean, really. I think the offense, our offense, should not have too much of an issue, doing what they do. So they're not great and they're not bad. They're just kind of they're like the Packers defense.
The Panthers are good. It is what it is.
Packers, Panthers. It is what it is.
This is one of those games, and Kevin, you hinted at it before, I think, where I think the Panthers are better than their record. I think that they can put together a good game, and I think this is not a gimme. I could definitely see the Packers losing a game like this, where you come off a game where you clinch the NFC North. Let's face it, there's not as much to play for as there was, and you worry about that a little bit. I mean, you worry to the extent that the number 1 seed gets you a bye, but other than that, this team can.
It also gets you home field though for the entire playoffs. Aaron Rodgers said that actually he said in an interview this week that he almost would prefer to have home field over the bye. Like he doesn't mind not having a bye if they could just have home field all playoffs. So.
And it's funny that he says that in a year where we know we're not going to have significant numbers of fans at Lambeau Field. I imagine now that there's a vaccine, even though Wisconsin is on fire with COVID, I'll bet you they're going to let some people in the stadium because optically it's not as ugly as it was now.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because this afternoon the Packers announced that they're going to be allowing
4 million people in the stadium.
They're going to be holding. They're going to they're
contests every Saturday.
They're going to be allowing 250 families or people. I don't remember if it's people total or families. Frontline responders, so nurses, doctors, cops, firefighters, EMTs, dispatchers, come in and be there for the game. So
that's cool.
I think, so I think it's going to push again. It's kind of a comically low number in a 78,000 seat stadium, but I think it's going to push the number up to like 850 people.
But I respect that they're at least keeping it comically. Like they could, I'm sure no one would really stop them if they wanted to put the 1/4 or 1/5. If they wanted to fill the stadium as much as legally possible, but they're not doing that. And I appreciate that. But but I guess my original point was it was surprising to hear, I guess, Aaron Rodgers say how important home field advantage was in a year where you're not going to have a full stadium and it's not going to be noisy and
think of it this way too. If you've got home field advantage, any sort of bubble that's implemented, you are at home field. You don't have to go anywhere. So like, your home field, your not to say that your daily life isn't interrupted because obviously it is because of this whole thing, but it's less interrupted than it would be if you had to go somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah. All right. What's the next true or false?
All right. This is where I really, really ran out of time. It was like 9:27. Okay. Question number 4. The special teams stink out loud. True or false? The Packers special teams will screw something up against Carolina. That is the question.
True. Thank you. True. I love this green inflation in the Ivy Leagues. I love it, except we're not.
I love the curve. Yes. True.
True. It's absolutely true.
So good, great. Let's talk about this special teams. I think the most frustrating thing for the average fan, because at least 2 of us here are average to below average fans, football understanding. But I think the one thing that I find surprising is it feels like special teams should be simple, should be fundamentals, and they're not executing those fundamentals. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something more to it. But I think the majority of special teams is just executing fundamentals, right?
It is. I mean, okay. Again, the in the NFL this season, there have been a total of 4 punt returns for touchdowns, and the Packers have given up 2 of them. That's bad, and it is a lack of fundamentals. And you can blame J.K. Scott. It would be dumb to just blame J.K. Scott. I know that the first punt return touchdown, they said that he didn't punt it to the right spot. Whatever. You can't have there. If you watch back and look at the tape. There are literally 5 or 6 guys in a line, like a conga line, heading for come on, everybody. Let's not feel that conga. Let's all get in our damn gaps and stay in our lanes. And they don't do it. They're just very undisciplined. And I tweeted this out this week. J.K. Scott's actually had a pretty good year. He's got the second highest gross punt average in Packers history. And he's really
such a good movie too. John Cusack, gross point average.
I love that. Actually, I love that real movie. But no, I mean, he's behind, and he's only like a 1/10 of a yard behind Tim Masthay of all people. So I mean, he's not having a terrible year. And if you're relying on your punter to make tackles, you got a problem.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you've had 10 problems occur by the time you rely on your punter to make a tackle.
Right, like stop blaming him for not knowing how to tackle. Punters don't need to know how to tackle. Or
there's a lot of football related he doesn't know how to do. Like football.
Don't you feel though, James, with Scott, that like sometimes when like you need like a 45-yard punt on the 5-yard line, he gives you like a 32-yard dud.
He is wildly inconsistent.
That's what gets me about him. It's that like when you need him, it's just like, well, good luck. Like it's
meanwhile you finally go 3 and out when you're up 27, and he hit the 58-yarder into the coffee corner.
Yeah, I mean, but yes, he is wildly inconsistent, and that's the most frustrating thing. But I mean, this is by far his best year. I've actually, guys, I broke the rule and I researched. For no reason other than I was bored a couple days ago.
You researched punters. That's okay. Yeah. Like if you're gonna do research, it's got to be weird research.
Barely research.
Yeah, I mean, this is in the 3 years he's been on the team. This is by far, by like leaps and bounds, his best year. Another stat that I found really interesting, and we can move on after this if you'd like, but I just thought this was a really cool stat. In his rookie year in 2018, he punted 71 times. In last year, in 2019, he punted 77 times. This year, with 3 games left to go, he's punted 38 times.
Wow.
That's incredible. And it doesn't really speak to him. It speaks to the offense, but like
to the offense and how consistent and complete this offense is.
Yeah, like how that's just incredible to me.
And think of the value he's getting. He's doing half the work. It's all of our dream. Half the work, same pay.
It's true.
It's a good point.
Although he is holding for more extra points.
Nick says that show prep this week was Maple Syrup and Punters. If we didn't already have a show title, we would name it Maple Syrup and Punters. That's a good name. All right, Kevin, you have a 5th question. I'm sure this is a beaut.
This is a real good one. This is a thinker. Okay. Just see if you can stay with me here.
Uh-huh.
The Panthers' slogan is "Keep pounding." True or false? This is a silly slogan. Chris, what do you think? Is this "Keep pounding" a silly slogan?
True. That is a silly slogan.
Okay, James, what do you think?
It is a silly slogan for an NFL football team. It is not a silly slogan for a construction company or Vivid Entertainment.
Association of America.
This always got me because this is, I mean, I get it, but like maybe have a little bit of awareness of what you're putting on t-shirts and on drums and hats.
I mean, the drum, okay, because you literally
yes, I stand corrected. That is a great place to have the term "keep pounding."
But if I were
a prophylactic wrapper would also be a great place to have that slogan.
But I will say they are a nice people. North Carolinians. I've been to a game there. The stadium is a little bit cookie cutter, but I was in the upper deck, still enjoyed the view. Beers still like $8.50, so it was a good time.
Yeah, I met a couple of Panther fans when we went to the Panthers game last year, the snow game, and they were super nice people. So yeah, I have nothing against them.
I have a bottle of Sex Panther in my closet.
60% of the time, it works every time.
So I think that worked. We'll be able to do that in the future. We'll use the true falses to get us, to our talking points for the games. And Kevin, I'm going to leave I'm probably going to need a little more effort than question 5, but otherwise, nicely done.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm telling you guys, like it was like 9:27. I was like, oh, I got to sign on. Here, let me type this up real quick. I'm done.
All right. So we talked about before Aaron Rodgers for MVP and the likelihood and whether or not that makes sense. What about Matt LaFleur as Coach of the Year? Is that a more compelling argument? And I will say I think they're both pretty damn compelling arguments, but yeah, it might be a more compelling argument.
Now, yes, I don't think Matt LaFleur gets nearly enough credit. I don't think the national media recognizes how great he has been for the Packers and how he's turned the offense, the whole franchise around from McCarthy. It's incredible. I guess when I wrote that question, but I probably phrased it wrong. I guess what was in my mind was, if Matt LaFleur wins Coach of the Year, does that mean that Aaron Rodgers was not really the MVP and vice versa?
Yeah. And I'm going to say right away, no, I don't believe that at all. Because look at Aaron Rodgers statistically. even in his bad years, you could see this, you could see how good his game was, even if it was falling off a little bit. But with LaFleur, look at where the team was. And last year we all said 13-3. This team is not a 13-3 team. They're not talented enough. This was an apparition. And we kind of giggled about 13-3. And now they're 10-3. And this team looks like it's the real deal, even though we know they have some fundamental flaws. And this is a long-winded way of saying Aaron Rodgers winning MVP does not invalidate in any way what LaFleur has done. And the other way around as well. Kev?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a situation where they both have a chance at it. I think LaFleur is going to have a tougher chance than Rodgers, because I think Sean Payton is going to get a lot of play because everybody loves Sean Payton and what they're doing, because Drew Brees, cracked a couple of his MAGA ribs. So I think that maybe it might be a tougher hill for LaFleur to climb than Rodgers. But I think that both of them, you could make a very strong argument for both of them. And when I say both of them, I mean Rodgers.
Do you think that it does lessen LaFleur's achievements if Rodgers wins MVP? Not lessen, but you know what I mean. Does it make them less kind of prestigious?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it does is sorry if that was
That's all right.
What I think it does is that just because of the situation, it does. Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was like. Okay, more so if Aaron Rodgers wins MVP, right? I don't see a way that Matt LaFleur could win Coach of the Year, because you know what I mean. The national media or people are just going to say, well, LaFleur wasn't that great of a coach. Rodgers was and vice versa.
And that's why I think Peyton would get the edge in Coach of the Year, because he didn't have his quarterback the whole season. So he must have done a great job of coaching.
Now you got me convinced. I hate it. I can't stand him.
I mean, but it's it's a stupid, right. I don't think it really means a ton, because we, week in and week out, like you said, because we saw what happened last year. We see what this team is doing this year. And it'd be nice to be recognized nationally, but also it's also a popularity contest.
Right. And we see what McCarthy's doing down in Dallas.
Boy.
We went from that to this. And it's, yes, Dak's been out and everything else, but they weren't great with Dak as quarterback either. So
Dak doesn't play defense.
Right. I mean,
Dak don't defend.
Neither does Dallas.
There's no reason to play this sound effect, but because it's on the soundboard, I'm going to.
We always have our memories. The Colonel said, here we are still enjoying his chicken.
More bean medley, dear.
All right. I think it's time to get to our final game as soon as I find the sound effect for that final game. Does anybody, by the way, you might want to Google the spread real quick if you haven't done that already.
I thought I put it on there.
Oh, wait. Nope. Oops.
Son of a...
I just Googled what is the spread, and it's explaining
incredible. You just Googled what?
I just Googled what is the spread. No context. Just
all right. Hold on. NFL.
It's Packers -8.
All right. I'll just edit all that out in post. Don't worry. All right. Packers favored by 8 against the Panthers. Oh, this is your part, Kev. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm barely keeping it together here. Packers are 8-point favorites. Chris, what do you think?
I think the Packers win, but I do not think they cover. I think 8's too big. That's what.
That's not what. James, what do you have? What do you think?
I think the Panthers are going to keep pounding. I take the. I don't ever pick the Packers, so the Panthers.
Pick the Packers and a pick of pickled peppers.
I think the Packers penetrating the Panthers with precision.
With pickles.
Oh boy! All
right, I think I'm going to take the Panthers as well, because I think 8 points is too much. I think the Packers are going to win, but I think it's too much. I broke James. Sorry, James.
Just I don't know.
I don't. Hold on. Well, I'm. Oh, there it is. All right, it's time to sound off because, oh God, it just is.
It's time to sound off.
Does anyone have a first sound off to go for this evening?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm going to look straight into the camera for this. Wear a mask.
You're handsome.
That's all. Can you see my pores? They're gigantic. I can land a lunar rover on these bad boys.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to go with what Kevin said. It's hit pretty close to home this week. Wear a damn mask.
I'm going to third that one. Do it.
Beauty. Motion carries, eh?
Two bowls of split pea soup.
All right, let's get out of here, guys. Thanks so much for joining us this week. We had a fun time. We hope you did too. If you didn't, go F yourself. I'm just kidding. We'll try again next week, maybe. We won't try harder, though.
Probably like the second weekday, right? So we'll probably see you next Tuesday. Is that what we're?
Yeah, we're going to see you next Tuesday. I think.
Great, awesome.
James, what should people tweet at us?
Tweet detention.
Detention. You heard it here first. Detention. The preceding podcast was a production of Productions Institute, LLC. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved. Don't steal our crap.